Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment to the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 5768, offered by Mr. Roy of Texas. Page 3, after line 19, insert the following.
Reserve a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
7, defunding law enforcement can have deadly consequences for residents of jurisdictions that
Without objection, the amendment will be considered as read.
Move to strike the last word.
The gentleman is recognized.
I thank the chair. Yeah, note per the ranking member's commentary and an extension of what I was saying earlier on a smaller amount of money, this bill is, as they say, real money. This bill is $100 million per year for 10 years. That's $1 billion, which even in Washington, I would argue is real money. So we have $1 billion allegedly being targeted and directed under a grant program run by the Attorney General of the United States to establish, create, and administer violent incident clearance and technology investigative methods. Well, again, back to sort of the core point. I mean, I go back to the GDP of the state of Texas being $1.8 trillion, the budget of the state of Texas over 2 years being about $260-something billion. Where is this $1 billion coming from? I mean, every dollar we spend is another borrowed dollar at this point. Even if we're going to argue about how we should make up the gap. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle will say we need to add more taxes. Colleagues on this side of the aisle will say we need to cut spending. Okay, great, let's have that debate. I'd love that debate. But literally at this point, I would just ask, this is $1 billion over 10 years, $100 million a year. Where are we going to get that money? So we say, fine, let's print that money or borrow that money, which is what this would be. We don't make any illusion that this is somehow going to be magically paid for. So we're going to take this money and we're going to print it, borrow it, and then dole it out to states by virtue of whatever the Department of Justice and the Attorney General says to create a program allegedly to go deal with crime and dealing with the backlog in homicide investigations. Well, again, why are the states not able to do this? The states aren't able to tax. They're not able to make decisions about their budget. Like, what is it about the federal government that the federal government needs to do this? And I don't know why we don't ask this question a lot more often. And so I'd like to just say that while we're talking about this, that I would note that the cities and the locations across the country that have cut spending, that there's consequences to that. So I'm offering this amendment to point out that defunding law enforcement has consequences. I would note I'm not picking on other jurisdictions. I picked 3, and we got Philadelphia and Rochester, but I go after Austin, which I represent. I represent downtown and South Austin, and would note that there are, in fact, consequences to cutting the police force. And there's study upon study about this, and then there'll be the leadership of these jurisdictions will say things like reimagining, and they'll say things about redirecting the dollars. But when you talk to anybody on the ground, and you go, well, we have now far fewer police officers per capita in Austin, Texas, and we have far fewer officers able to respond to 911 calls. So we have people in danger and crime going up. It's almost completely not debatable. It's just the facts on the ground in Austin. So I represent Austin. Why do you all need to give me money to do anything at all? Like, why can't we just figure this out in Austin, Texas? I strongly disagree with the City Council of Austin, Texas. I think they are bat crap crazy, lunatics. But I can deal with that in Austin, Texas, right? We made bad choices in Austin, Texas. We cut the police. Now we got crime running rampant.
Would the gentleman yield?
Now I'll yield for a brief question.
Thank you so very
Brief
much.
question,
Again, if you believe that Austin does not need it,
right,
or if they were able to get it, would not use it appropriately,
right,
then Austin does not have to apply for this grant funding.
So reclaiming my time, we all know precisely what the city of Austin would do, which was apply for it, because it's free money. And then they'll take that free money and go use it for all manners of nefarious policies, bypassing the state budget process and the taxing authority of the state and the ability to make those decisions. And they will gladly take free money from the feds because it's free. But it's not free because there ain't no free lunch. It's not free. We're borrowing the hell out of it. And now we've got massive rampant inflation, massive interest rates, destruction of our financial stability, and we're creating another program to spend another $1 billion. And I would just stipulate that if the city of Austin is so stupid as to cut its police, then we should have that fight out in Texas. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I recognize myself in opposition to the amendment. Mr. Roy contradicts himself in his own amendment. On the one hand, his amendment says that various cities cut their budgets, Austin by $150 million, Philadelphia by $14 million, Rochester by $3.5 million, and crime